Hey everybody, I'm going to be doing a video today on Tuesday, Guild Raid. Today is the most annoying day. These are the skill locks that I'm currently using. And I'll show you the setup before we get into the gear. The gear is really the main part of today's setup, because this setup's been being used basically for a very long time. It was leaked a long time ago, so anybody familiar with the raid scene should basically already be using this or be familiar with this. With BAM, this setup is a little bit popular with the other Mercedes market back over here. If you don't have BAM for whatever reason, and maybe you're using Thanatos still for his 10% mark, then you can have Evan with Nomads in this position. Because he's naturally lava walk, and he will walk to where the minion stands on turn 1, and Thanatos would naturally go here, the other mark back there, and then he'll just stay there. He'll be out of explosion range and in range to co-op and everything like that. Evan's a great hero for today, even though he's not a rock type. Another thing you can do is just drop Evan completely. Maybe you don't have Evan, and you can use BAM and Thanatos, assuming Evan is BAM, Evan is Thanatos, one there. Take both sigils. In this setup, you don't technically need a past set on Hong, but you normally will have to have Hong using a past set. She cannot be countered in most setups because it throws off the Lord skill gauge. For the most part, that's the biggest issue. That's still an issue with this one, but because you do get 2 sigils, and it's not too much of a DPS loss to not have Evan, because you lose all the special co-ops. Anyway, I'll let everybody figure that kind of stuff out on their own. I just want to give a little bit of a base for how to gear for today. So here's the setup. This is generally how it works. Hong, when she throws the lava on the ground, gets a bunch of regen, and she's got a Devil Knight and a Slime King on to keep her as healthy as possible. I would say nice and healthy, but it's just not possible with this boss. Huxa with 3 enemies around him. He will not kill those minions. He will not counter them if you put a fair play on him, all 3 pieces. And he gets a huge buff to his HP, 60% buff for having 3 enemies if you have his wings maxed. We were using this strategy before the wing soul gear came out, but when that came out, it was just like, wow, this is so much easier now. This is just the general idea of the setup. While Hong is on lava, she gains regen. Her wings further increase that, and Huxa just gets it by himself, and his wings obviously increase his regen as well as his max. So that's the general idea of the setup. And I guess I'll just go into the gear, because there's really not much to show from that. It'll just go on forever, or until you die. Hong's usually the first to go, but some people have a good Hong and slightly weaker Huxa, so you should have Huxa being the strong one. He is taking 2 hits a turn, and he can't use ABS. Alright. Now let's get to the actual important part of today's setup, your gear. So the way that you're gearing is very important for this. The first thing is because the armor ignore on the boss's self-destruct scales really out of control. So what your runes, generally you want defense runes with defense on them. My runes are mediocre at best for this. I was experimenting today with why is my defense so low? With the crocodile set. I think it will be the best set. Currently, I think mana storage is the best set, because it gives you the shield, and the shield is really strong. It is chest brooch. Same with the crocodile set, but also 2 pieces of fair play. Just by way of example here, 2 pieces of fair play, as well as a brooch, gives you a ton of defense as well. So that put me up to close to 40,000 defense. Now, generally, you want to be running. You know, my defense seems low. I don't know if I have my mastery set properly. I was sure it was over 40,000. Anyway, generally you want to have your defense in the 40,000 range for Hong. Like in the 30s is okay. Like you can still probably do 1 kill per turn in the 30s, but you want to be aiming for the 40 to 50 range for both Hong and Hyuxa, because it's gonna be what keeps you alive. Yeah, I've only got 7. Okay. All right, now let's go. Oh. Forgot to heal my ship last week. That's going to be really annoying. Anyway, where were we? All right, that's more like it. So just about 50,000. So this is a great setup as well. Like I said, I prefer the mana storage so far. I do seem to have better effects with it. Like the shield is really strong. It's basically like having absolute protection on twice. So in turns, if you get your DPS high enough, you can double kill some turns. Like if you're killing every 5 attacks, for example, like there will be times where if Hyuxa gets killed, then you will kill with the mercenary as well. So you'll get a double kill on that turn. Hong will need to start with absolute protection, and then she will get her shield when her turn starts, and then you will use absolute protection again. She'll get a double shield on that. So like the damage reduction is pretty significant with that. Her health is quite low though, so that's one of the reasons that I was looking at the crocodile set, Dignified Crocodile. It's one of the new sets that came out. It is a chest brooch, so once I have it fully transcended, I'll be able to do better tests. But this will get her health up into the 300,000 range, most likely, for sure. Now, arguably, I should be using a full Green Ranger on her. But I do like having the higher defense value, because the defense value is going to happen all the time. The crit's only going to reduce on turns where I get crit, and I could have double shields up, like with my mana storage, as well as an absolute protection stack. Like I don't know when the crits are going to happen. I do know that having high defense is good all the time, so I've just opted to have the defense. But that's the setup that I'm running on my Hong right now. The most important thing, like I said, is just to be mindful of the scaling defense ignore. So the DPS should be second. So my Hong's traits, I rerolled her immunities into more defense just for today, because I just don't use her immunities for basically anything. So little stubby feet. So I just re-roll them into defense runes, and that's what's helping me get up to some of these heights with the defense, because like these defense runes they're okay. My bottom one's pretty decent, I think. It does have, even though it's great, it does have boss damage, defense, and HP. For today, I'd almost rather have a flat defense on that instead of the boss damage, though, because she doesn't really hit that much. But ideally, you'd have defense, percent, HP, and then damage to boss would be like your ideal setup for a perfect rune, and that's just going to be very hard to get. These are the runes that I'm using on my Hyuxa. We'll go over to him because he's a bit stronger. So I do have over 50,000 on Hugh. He needs to be wearing the Omni set. This is for 2 reasons. The first is because the boss puts a defense reduction with his first skill, and then if you get hit with an explosion after the defense reduction hits, you're gonna get wrecked. So that's not a good thing. So the Omni set is almost a requirement in that sense. The second reason is because it's chest brooch, you do get another 1,000 defense. So even though right now I got 51,000 defense, 200 and almost 60,000 health, if I switch this to an Angel Knight, if I can find one here. Wow, that's not my good Angel Knight, but let's just scale with the HP here. That's all I'm trying to say. My HP increase goes up quite a bit. My defense falls. It doesn't seem like that much. It doesn't seem like that much. But the boss defense ignore starts around 5,000 and doesn't do very much either. And the later stages where it starts to get really dicey for me, it's around 10,000. So it's only doubled to around 10,000 armor ignore. But the amount of damage is the difference of I can probably not heal for 3 turns at the right when he gets to turn 9, or or I'm casting absolute protection 3 times in a row when he's when I'm at turn 43 or 44 or something like that. So it is a really significant amount of defense to be down, especially considering how it's flat defense. You're also going to get one of the sigils, if not 2, depending on the strategy that you're using. So that's another little good measure that you can use for it. But the defense you gain from the Omni set is the best case. If you are using combat support, if you're only doing a straight 1-turn kill, so you kill a boss once every turn, and it never ever, it's always the same person getting the kill, and that's the same from turn, like let's say turn 3 4 all the way to 50. In that case, you could have combat support set so it goes off after Huxa attacks or before Huxa attacks every single turn, and you can use a 2-piece Angel Knight with the brooch. Excuse me. You can use a 2-piece Angel Knight with the brooch. Let me see if I get a... Is this my... whatever, it's got the highest defense. That's good enough for me. And then you would have basically the same defense, but you would have a lot more HP. So that would be the tankiest version, but you can really only do it if you're doing 1 kill per turn, or if you're so strong that you're able to never have to use absolute protection, which is impressive if possible. I'm not sure if it's even possible, but it would be definitely very impressive. You'd have to have some God mode level runes for that stuff, because in theory you could replace all that defense. I don't know if you could do anything for the shield though. Anyway, Defender of Earth obviously gives another few thousand defense and a bunch of HP while in combat, so this 51,000 is actually significantly higher than that. The Cuckoo Pirates, fantastic set for today. It gives, I should really re-roll this, I got the potions, I'll do that later. It gives a chest and a brooch and a bow, which is basically perfect because Hux is really low on the crit rate. And the restoring the HP at the beginning of each turn, and as well for allies, so it can help Pong a little bit as well, as including giving both of them an HP buff. I do have a second one, and once I have it transcended up, I probably will be taking the Green Ranger off Pong for another one of those, but I'm unsure as to whether or not that would be beneficial or not until I actually break into the 40 or 50,000. Sorry, the mid 40 to mid 50,000 range for defense when I get some better runes. But that's generally it. If you can survive that, then your damage is really limited by. Like, I don't want to go into like the way that you're gearing your DPS heroes, because that should be pretty self-evident. For the most part, it's just. Well, maybe one thing I'll mention is Evan is good with a past set. Instead of, like, if you want more DPS, you want to be a little bit greedier, then there's 2 things you could do. 1, you can use a changing future, or 2, you can use the Klein set. Now, the reason that the Klein set might be better than the changing future is because it will allow you to cast absolute protection, I think 4 times before you have to use a combat support, which is really useful in the later dicey turns. But the thing is, if Evan does get countered, it will mess up your Lord Gauge by 1 or so per turn, or maybe 2 stacks per turn. It'll be a hero back for sure, and that could be an issue depending on the stage at which you get countered. So that could be a little bit annoying. Now you can always do a force close to try and dodge the counter. It's just not a good idea for the most part. So especially on today's raid, because like it's not like you can decide to not cast your skill most of the time if you're actually in that dangerous of a situation in the later stages. But I'm getting Water Walk from the Austere Noble. Obviously, if you had a Water Walk rune, that would be more ideal, because the Jihad's set is really powerful. I want to be using 2 pieces of that. Hunger Predator is very powerful, and I thought because of the special co-ops and just his overall output, that he would be better off with the Austere Noble instead of using the Wisdom, and keeping those 2 slots free. Obviously, a Wisdom would probably be the best if I had a Water Walking rune. Or if you're using the Lava Walk version, that's fine too. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Just want to do a quick breakdown of gear and traits, obviously. Oh, wow, I can reroll all these to defense and I would never die. I really need to reroll this. This is what I was trying to get a higher crit rate and I ended up not getting one. Just ruined the piece. I should reroll it completely, actually. Be farming some 3-star materials all night so I can get rid of all this junk. Maybe roll it again. Anyway, yeah, should I keep the 100% or should I just go straight defense? My Hong dies before my Hyuxo, so maybe I'll just leave it for now. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. See you guys later.